So I apologize. I realized there was a typo in the homework where I said that the Kiddush is on the top of page 4 when it's obviously 45. I'm sorry for that. I don't know how I missed that. But I think that's where we should start today, unless someone has a question before that and a page earlier than 45. No? Okay, good. All right. Let me move some papers around and get myself situated. Okay. So on the top of page 45 in the box is the traditional Friday night Kiddush that starts with the blessing for the wine and then goes on. So would you like me just to read through it slowly right now? Is that helpful to everyone? Do you want to do it? Read through the whole thing and then we'll go back and break it down slowly again?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Okay. Good morning or good afternoon, Rhoda. I think it's afternoon where I know it's afternoon where I am. I don't know where you are, but that's okay. All right, so we're gonna start on page 45 in the box. I'm gonna read the entire contents of the box slowly and carefully, okay? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. Just let me read. You want me? I can mute everyone if that helps. But if you all would just let me read. Here, let me, hold on. I'm gonna mute you all, which means you'll have to unmute when we get to that part. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza vanu v'shabbat kadsho v'ahava uveratzon hin chi lanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kadshecha ba'ahava uveratzon hin chal tanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Right, you guys can unmute yourselves. Okay. Any specific questions, or should we just go line by line?
Line by line.
Line by line.
Okay, very good. All right, the first line, again, the blessing over the wine. Let's read it together. Okay? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam borei pri hagafen. Excellent. Okay. The second line, again, let's read the whole line all the way across together. Most of these words should be very familiar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu. Okay, very good. It sounds like everyone has all of that down very confidently. So now the third line. Let's read just the first 3 words together to the period, okay? We'll do it together. B'mitzvotav v'ratza vanu.
What's the one in the middle?
Okay. Okay, slow down. Okay, so the first word, I'll read and stop. B'mitzvotav. The second word, v'ratza. Viratsa. Okay.
Viratsa.
All right. So Cheryl, is there a letter in that second word that's not so familiar that you're just uncertain of?
I guess it's still the R and the D that are
Confusing. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a resh. This is the R sound. Viratsa.
Okay.
Okay. And the last of these three words, vanu.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do you want me to read these? The fourth word here, vishabat. That's familiar, right? Vishabat. Okay. Now the next word, the fifth word, this is the dalit. So kadisho. Kadisho. Good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next word, be'ahava.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Be'ahava. The last word, uveratson. So here, this is the R sound again.
Okay.
Uveratson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want to point something out in the second to last word, be'ahava, that we kind of talked about. You asked me a few weeks ago when I had my COVID vaccine headache and I couldn't answer the question. And then last week I did answer the question. The middle vowel here, where it's the shva, the two dots, and the line across, the double vowel. And I said that means that it shortens the vowel. What it also does is it tells you that is not where you put the emphasis. Often when you see that in a word, the emphasis goes on the vowel following it, or the part of the word following it, okay? That's why when I read this word, ahava, I put the emphasis on the syllable immediately following where that double vowel appears, okay? And I know that's maybe a super fine detail, but I think it's an important detail because figuring out where the emphasis, which syllable the emphasis goes on is sometimes challenging. And I think this is one of the indicators. There are very few indicators that tell us. The emphasis in Hebrew is not usually on the first syllable. It's usually on a later syllable, okay? So this is an indicator, which I find helpful. Okay, fourth line, how about I read, I'm gonna read the first four words to the period, then we'll come back and we'll read together.
Okay.
Hin, chi, lanu, zikaron. Just listen until I get to the period. Hin, chi, lanu, zikaron, lema'aseh, v'reishit. Okay, so together. Hin, lanu, zikaron, lema'aseh, v'reishit. Good. That was nice. Okay. And I'll read the next four together and then we'll come back. I'll read them myself, then we'll come back and you'll do it with me. Ki, hu, yom, tehila. These are pretty simple. Here we go. Ki, hu, yom, tehila. Good. Okay. This one, let me read. Let's break this line in half. So I'll read the first four, just me, okay? Lemikra a kodesh zecher litziyat. So back to what maybe some of the confusing parts are. You've got resh, the R sound in the first word. You've got the D or dalet in the second word. You got the third word ends in a resh, the R sound again, okay? So you need to distinguish those letters. So the first word, I'm gonna read it, then you say it. Lemikra a. Okay, the next is Kodesh.
Kodesh.
Zecher,
Zecher.
Litziat. Okay, now the last three. I'll read them, then I'll come back and we'll do them one by one. Mitzrayim. Just listen. So Mitzrayim, that's a reference to Israel, Mitzrayim, the land of Israel. Kivanu Vacharta. Okay, so here again, we are dealing with, so in these, we don't have any D sounds, we have the R sound. The first one, Mitzrayim.
Mitzrayim.
Good. Kivanu. Okay. I'm sorry. Vacharta. Good. Okay. Very nice. Down here, I'll do the first three, which includes the hyphenated word first. Okay. I'll just do them together and then I'll come back. Ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim. Okay, so the first word, ve'otanu. Okay, now here we have another form of the word kodesh, holy, kidashta. And then this, mikol ha'amim. Good, nice, okay. And the last three, I'll read them. Some of them will be very familiar. Vishabat, Kadshecha, Be'ahava. So the first is easy for us, right? Vishabat. Now we keep having this word, some form of Kodesh. This one is Kadshecha. Right, so that's the D sound. There's that dalet as the second letter. And the last word, Be'ahava. Okay, good. All right, the last line. I'll do this in three parts. I'll do until the period, then I'll do the middle to the period, then we'll do the end. So I'll read first. Uveratzon in chaltanu. Okay, so here we've got a resh, all right? So uveratzon. In chaltanu. Good. Now the middle three should be very familiar. Baruch atah Adonai. Yes. Everyone knows it. Good. All right. The last two. So here we have Mikadesh Hashabbat. So the Mikadesh is another form of Kodesh, holy. Mikadesh. Hashabbat. Okay. Much better, I hope.
Better.
Okay, good. Okay, so I don't really see the need to do the lower part of 45 because it's all included within the box and we just practiced it. Although if you want me to read it, so when you practice it, you'll have a recording of it, I can do that. Would you like me to read those lines 1 through 10 just to have it on the recording, or can we turn the page?
We can turn the page.
Turn the page.
Okay. So unit 7, which is page 46. There are 2 goals to this new unit. The first one is to read the Shema and the first so the Shema, the short Shema, as well as the first paragraph of the Shema. And then you move on to learn the song Lecha Dodi. I know this is really just a Hebrew reading class, but the teacher's manual of the book does suggest that we take a few minutes to talk about the Shema. So I thought we would do that. And, you know, The Shema is obviously the perhaps most central prayer of Judaism, right? Our affirmation of the belief in one God and telling our people, yo, Israel, this is how we believe. This is what we do. This is most important, right? And, you know, it's very short. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Very direct. And it comes directly from the Torah, Deuteronomy. And it is, I believe, it is ordained that it is the most repeated prayer we have. We're told we're supposed to say it in the morning and at night. It is repeated throughout every service I've ever been to at various points in the service, right? It keeps coming up. And the first paragraph is also right from parts of the Torah that the first paragraph starts out, V'ahavta. So I learned it as a child. We didn't call it a paragraph. We said the V'ahavta. We just called it that, right? It takes the commandments and repeats them, right? So it breaks it down for us in terms of that we should love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our might. This is a commandment. We shall teach it diligently to our children. We're supposed to speak of it when they're sitting at home, when we're going on a journey, when we lie down, and when we rise up. So that's the commandment, to say it at night and in the morning. We're to bind them, at least the men are, right? With their tefillin, right? They have it on their forehead, they have it on their arm next to their heart. We're supposed to put it in the mezuzot and put it on the doorposts, right? And this is what you will find in the scroll inside the mezuzah. So that's kind of a quick summary, I hope, of the Shema. And, you know, some of us learn it actually singing it before we can even read it, because the trope or the tune that we use to sing the paragraphs, first, second, and third paragraphs of the Shema, are the Torah trope, the same melody that is used to read from the Torah. I didn't know that. I was saying earlier that, you know, I was bat mitzvahed in 73. I wasn't taught Torah trope. I was taught Haftorah trope, which is a different trope. I wasn't taught what the signs for Torah trope were, even though they are technically the same as the Haftorah trope. I didn't know that at the time. I just knew how to sing this prayer because I heard it every Shabbat, and it just was a song I knew. So when I finally learned Torah trope as an adult, it was like, okay, this is very familiar. I get this. And maybe that's kind of the point with young children, including girls who weren't allowed to read from the Torah. We were taught it in another form. So at any rate, I wasn't planning on teaching you guys to sing it because this is a reading class. And as I say, you know, when I keep repeating that, even though we know how to sing something, sometimes that trips us up when we're trying to read it, because we know it so well and we go so fast. Our eyes can't keep up with what our head knows, right? Yeah. So I'm not gonna go that route. We're just really gonna break it down and learn to read it, okay? Okay, so page 46 is the introduction of one of the very last letters that we need in order to read this. And that letter is the tet. It's another T, and according to the manual says to me, so the sound of this T is like a double tough. So the earlier T sound we learned in the letter in Shabbat, for instance, this is supposed to be a harder T, which I can't say I've really noticed all these years I've read, but that's what the manual says. So there you have it. The shape of this letter, so the the page that you all have now that I sent you, it's up in the top line left corner. There it says a tear or a tear on top. So it's interesting that they put it next to the M sound, the mem, and they're right. It has very similar aspects to that letter, though quite honestly, I get it. So where it's broken at the top, the mem is broken at the bottom left corner, the tet is broken at the top. Anyway, I don't know if there's any other ideas you have for helping yourselves remember that that's a T sound, but this is our letter. And so the word with the double arrows on the top of page 46 is pronounced totafot.
Totafot.
Right, so those dots on the upper left corners are our O sound, right? The vav with the dot on top, but they didn't bother printing the vav. They just print the dots for us to pronounce them as O's. And again, so we've got 3 T sounds going on in this word, totafot. I honestly, they all sound like T to me. So that's all there is to that. Okay. Let's look. So we're going to skip line 1 because you guys know your vowels. So we're going to go straight to line 2. And in line 2, they're having us work on the te sound. And the first word, which is the second combination of letters to the left of the number 2, terem. So here we have an R sound, the resh, and the final mem at the end of the word, terem. And now the phrase that so these phrases are all right out of services, the Friday night service. B'terem kol yitzir nivra. It's a song we sing, at least I'm used to singing. So let's do this. We'll read those 4 words. I'll read, you repeat. B'terem.
B'terem.
Kol. Yitzir. Nivra. Good. Okay. Line 3 is the T sound. And the first word is mishpatim. So that's family, right? Or families, plural, right? So mishpat is my family. Mishpatim is families. Okay. So let me read the phrase. Let's see. Torah umitzvot hukim umushpatim otanu limadata. So again, a phrase from the service. Let's go more slowly now. The first word, Torah. Umitzvot. Hukim. Umishpatim. Otanu. Limadata. Good. Everyone all right there? All right. Line 4 is just the T all by itself, no vowel attached. So the first word here is lishpot. Okay, and let's see what this line is from a prayer. I'm going to read it. Kiva lishpot haaretz. Yishpot tevel b'tzedek ve'amim ve'emunato. I'm not sure where this comes from, the Friday night service. Sorry about that, but that's okay. We're going to go slow and break it down. Ki va lishpot haaretz yishpot hevel B'tzedek,
Tzedek,
Ve'amim,
Amen.
Be'emunato.
Nato.
Right, Be'emunato.
Wow.
Okay, line 6 is the sound 2. Okay, like either the number 2 or TOO. 2 is what we're working on here. So tuvecha is the first word. Tuvecha. Okay, tuvecha. Good. And let's see what the phrase is. Oh, sabenu mituvecha. This is from a prayer. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't get that second word.
okay, so let's slow down. Okay, I'm really glad you guys feel confident. You're jumping in. I like that. But let me do them one at a time. The first one. I'm going to mute Paula because I think that's where the ambient noise is coming from. Okay. Yes, that was better. Okay. So the first word, sabenu. Good. The second is mi tu vecha. Good. Okay. Now we're on line 7. And this is a ta. They're looking at a ta sound. And the first word is taher. Okay. And this comes from the song V'taher libenu li'atetecha. Okay, I don't know if y'all know it that way, but that's how I write. Okay. So sorry for my singing. I am not the best. Okay, so the phrase I'm gonna read the phrase, the 4 words together, and just listen. V'taher libenu. Just listen. Okay, v'taher libenu. The avdecha be'emet. Okay, now we'll break it down together. V'taher libenu. The avdecha. Good. Be'emet. Good. Okay. Line 8 is toe. And they show it with the vav and then without and just the dot. Okay. And here, the word we're working on is the target word from the top of the page, totafot. And he shows it the first time on the right of the equal sign. He's giving you the extra vav. But on the left-hand side with just the dots, that's the actual spelling. So the word is totafot. Okay. Everyone good with that? Okay. Line 9, he's just given us a phrase. I'm going to read it. V'hayu letotafot bein einechem. Which is right out of the Shema paragraph. So let's do this to one word at a time. V'hayu letotafot bein einechem. I think I mispronounced it the first time I read it. I apologize. But that's it. So now the grid at the bottom of page 46, he's just showing us that we get the T sound in different letters, different symbols, obviously, but they all sound like a T. So if we were to read line 11 going across, the first word is talit, you know, the talis, the parashal. And to the left, under the top, is Torah. Line 12, the word we just worked on, totafot, which he's doing here again with the vavs printed rather than just the dots. And then the left Ner Tamid Tefillin. So we know Ner Tamid is the eternal light, and Tefillin, the tefillin, which we talked about. Okay. Line 13, the word Tov and Tova. The middle word Emet, which means truth, and it has the taf without the dot, as opposed to if you go over to the left and he's showing it with the dot. Again, many, many years ago, these were pronounced differently, but we pronounce them the same with and without that dot, right? Line 14, Tahara is the word on the right, and Brit is the word in the middle. Okay. All right. I'm looking at the bottom of page 47 for a second to see if what we want to. So if we look at the bottom of page 47, he's got 3 lines by an asterisk there. The point he's making here is the silent yud. The first word, it looks like banecha, but it's really pronounced banecha. The yud is silent. I don't know if we've come across this before. We've come across it where we've learned that the yud after a vowel makes it sound like I, right? E-Y-E, as opposed to just ah, turns into I. Here it's a silent, it's just as if it's not there. So the word on the right is the proper spelling. The word on the left is the pronunciation. So as I said, the first one is banecha. The second line, bisharecha, is the proper pronunciation. Bisharecha, you see it? So if the yud there does not change it. And the final one, einecha, is the pronunciation. And if it's spelled properly with the 2 yuds, it's still pronounced the way it is on the left, einecha. So give me 1 second. I'm trying to decide if we should we should just go straight to page. So let's turn to page 48. And this is the representation that I in the box, actually on page 49, that if you were to open up the little scroll that you find inside a mezuzah, this is what it would look like. Obviously, it's very small type. You're supposed to regularly check, like once a year, check your scroll. I don't know anyone who checks them once a year. I check them when I take them down when we paint and when I move, honestly. But there are Orthodox families I have heard about who check them, I think, annually, because they believe if there's something wrong with the scroll, that their house will not be blessed. And so therefore they are rather sensitive about that. Anyway, so I was saying earlier that the main line of the Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, that's straight from the Torah. It is not followed by the next line, which on page 48 is line 2, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. It's actually, that's not written there. That was a refrain that was said by people. So that's why it's usually said quietly, not out loud at all, with the exception of the high holidays when we do say it out loud together as a congregation. I think that there's a importance to that, right? It feels very special when we do it that way and we do it only at that time. So that's always nice. All right, so why don't we jump in and start reading, unless anyone has questions. How are we doing on time? We're good on time. Okay, so page 48. Let's read together. So obviously we know the name at the top, the name of the prayer at the top of the page is Shema Yisrael. Line 1. Can we read together? Shema Yisrael. Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Good. Okay, line 2. You want me to read first and then we'll go together?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. I'll read line 2 all the way across and we'll come back and do it together. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. So we'll go together. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Good. Okay. Now this is where the first paragraph, the V'ahavta, starts. And I'll just read line 3, the first 4 words, and we'll come back. Well, actually, let me read. I'll read the 2 lines there that are marked as 3. I'll just read them together all the way to the end, and then I'll come back and we'll break it down. So I want you to hear this as a line. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha. Okay? And now we'll slowly go through it. The first word, line 3. Ve'ahavta. Good. Et. It's really 8. 8, not et. I apologize. It's 8. Adonai. Right? Elohecha. Okay? Elohecha. Bechol. Levavcha. Uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha. Right. Okay.
Would you repeat the third word in that second, the second row, third word, please?
Okay. Uvechol.
Okay.
Okay. So let's do it. And it comes up again 2 words later, right? So uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha. You see that? It's the same word. Okay? Okay, line 4. I'm going to read both of them here. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha. And then we'll go back. The first word, v'hayu hadvarim. Let's do that one. Let's do that. Hadvarim.
Hadvarim.
Good.
Okay.
Ha'ele
Ela.
Okay. Asher.
Asher.
Anochi.
Anochi.
Mitzavacha.
Mitzavacha.
Hayom.
Hayom.
Al.
Al.
Livavecha.
Livavecha.
Very good. Excuse me. Okay, now we're at line 6, and he does it in 4 lines, 2 words each line. So I'll read the whole thing, then we'll go slowly in little groups. Vidibarta bam, beshivtecha, beveitecha, uvlechtecha vaderech, uvshachbecha, uvkumecha. You know, there's a lot of sounds going on in there. Well, let's do the first line, the first 2 words that are right to the left of the number 6. Okay, I'll read one, and then just the first word you repeat. Okay, Vadibarta. Bam. Okay, now we'll go down and do just the first word. Beshivtecha. I can't get my mouth to work. Beshivtecha. Beveitecha. Okay, let's do that one again because I messed up. The first word there is beshivtecha. Beveitecha. Very good. Okay. The next line, uvlechtecha. Vaderech. Okay, now on that word right there, vaderech, you very much have the first letter, the second letter in, which is the D sound, the dalet, followed by the resh, the R sound. And so you see them right next to each other. And that word is vaderech. Okay, vaderech. Very good. The next line, uvshachbecha. That's it. That's right. Yes. Okay. Uvkumecha. Good. All right. So the tricky word, honestly, is that first one, which is a little bit of a tongue twister. Ushachbecha. Good. Right. That's it. That's it right there. Right. And then the last word of 6 is uvkumecha. Exactly. Okay. All right. Line 7. I'll read all 3 of these little lines here. Uk shar tam leot. Just listen. Al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha. Okay, so now we'll go back, starting just where the 7 is, the first word, uk shar tam. Good. Okay. Yes. Okay, moving to the left a little bit. Leot. Al. Yadecha. Good. And finally, v'hayu
Bahayu.
L'totafot.
L'totafot.
Bein.
Bain.
Enecha.
Ineka.
So this is one of those words with that silent yud. So the first word, the first yud at the beginning of enecha, so in the first syllable, that yud makes a, right? That a sound. Then the second syllable, ne, that yud just doesn't do anything for us. It's still just ne. And then it ends with cha. Enecha. Good. Okay, line 8. I'll read the whole thing. Uchtav-tam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Okay? So let's break it down. Line 8, the first word. Uchtav-tam. Good. Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Good. Yeah. Nice. All right. Y'all sound good. Okay. Let's see what's 49 all about. Well, this is these are nice practice lines that come in various places in the service. The page 49 is what I'm looking at. Echad, which is the word at the top of the page, that means one. Echad in Hebrew, that's the word for one. So the first line, pretty straightforward. I'll just read it. Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael. Okay? And, you know, Yisrael has, believe it or not, different meanings. You know, to us, my generation certainly, it means the land of Israel. But in the Torah, it means the nation, right? It's all about a nation. There's no land yet. So it's the people. So when you get to the word Am Yisrael, that's the people of Israel, as opposed to Eretz Yisrael, the last phrase here, which is the land of Israel. Right. Yeah. So to me, that's the distinction that he's making here with these phrases. But so let's read. Let's read line 1. Yisrael.
Yisrael.
Am Yisrael.
Am Yisrael.
Eretz Yisrael.
Eretz Yisrael.
That's it. Line 2. He just has the word echad 4 times. Right? Echad, echad. That's all it is. Right. Now, line 3 is a little bit late for us, but we read this line during our Seder. Echad mi yodea. Who knows one? That's the line right here on line 3 with a question mark. Echad mi yodea.
Echad mi yodea.
Okay. And then he goes on with the song. Echad ani yodea. I know one. That's the translation of this line, line 4. Echad ani yodea. Okay. So the literal translation of these words, echad is one, ani is I, and yodea is no. So, you know, the order of the words is different in Hebrew, and sometimes even more different in a prayer because they're trying to make it poetic. So they change the order of things, but that's neither here nor there for us. Okay, line 5. The line is Echad Eloheinu Sheba Shamayim Uva Aretz. So God is one on the land and in the sky, in the heavens and on the earth is essentially the translation of this line. So line 5, we'll do it me then you. Echad.
Echad.
Eloheinu.
Eloheinu.
Sheba Shamayim.
Sheba Shamayim.
Uva Aretz. Okay. Line 6 is right from the Shema. So Adonai Echad Ushemo Echad. God is one and his name is one, is what this line translates to. So Adonai Echad Ushmo Echad. There we go. All right. So let's see. We still have 6 minutes. I don't want to introduce any new letters. Honestly, I don't think that would be beneficial. Do you?
No.
Too short a time. Okay. So I'm going to show you a video that I can send to you, but let me show it to you first, okay? Desktop, share. Here we go. I'm gonna make it bigger. Can y'all see my desktop?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So this is a YouTube of a gentleman reading Shema. I'm gonna play it.
The practice saying the Shema. The Shema is probably the most important and special prayer to the Jewish people. It's said twice a day, once in the morning when we wake up and at nighttime before we go to sleep. It's one of the first prayers a young child learns to say. It's found in the Torah and is put into every siddur, every prayer book. So we're going to work our way through it today. We're actually going to see the first paragraph. Into here, with the first line. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You'll notice there is actually a slightly larger ayin, this third letter over here, and a slightly larger daled, this last letter over here. And when those two letters are put together, it spells the word aid, which means a witness, because we are God's witness in this world. So let's say the Shema together, and you can follow along in your own books or on the screen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. That first line is said with our hands covering our eyes, and that increased the amount of concentration that we have when saying this very important prayer. The second verse is said quietly in a whisper, just loud enough for ourselves to hear, but preferably not anybody else. Shem, Kavod, Malchuto, Leolam, Ed. And then we have the first paragraph itself going from line 4 all the way to line 10. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol ma'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam shivtecha beveitecha uvelechtecha Baderech uveshafpacha ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Okay, so I'm going to send you the link for that. I know I told you we weren't going to learn to sing it. I tried to find someone just reading it, can't do it. But he does it so nice and slowly, and I think his pronunciation is really excellent. So that's the benefit of this particular video. And also, if you want to learn to sing it, you know, you want to learn the Tropatini bit, it's there. And I'm assuming at your, at least at my show, I'm assuming at many shows, it's always chanted. It's not read, it's chanted. So this is him chanting very slowly. Anything else?
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. I will type up a homework page. I'll double check I don't have a typo, leaving out a page number. And on Monday, I'm writing myself a note right now on my calendar to send the Zoom recording. So I have to believe I'm going to get it. And if I don't, I'm going to go all the way to the top and ask for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good Shabbat, a nice weekend.
Rachel,
Yes.
how long will these Zoom postings, I'll call them, be available? Because I know in YouTube they're available quite a long time, but I don't know about the Zoom links.
Well, I can tell you that the fall Hebrew classes that the Women's League started, those are still available through the Women's League website. They're still posted. All of those of you in the Bat Mitzvah class, all of those Zoom recordings are posted through the Women's League website. So I imagine they're going to be up for quite a while.
Okay.
I mean, do you know how to go into the Women's League website and find them under member materials?
No.
We can just.
I haven't done it, but I just linked through your email. That's why I asked that.
Well,
question.
that's what I'm sending it to you that way because I was saving you all the bother of signing in. Do you want me to show you how to go into? I can share my screen and show you how to go into the Women's League website to find it.
Can you show us next week, please?
I can show you next week, or if any of you want to stay on right now, I'll show you now, and then I'll show it again at the beginning of class next week. Okay.
Okay. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.